From Atlanta, Georgia, broadcasting around the world. This is the Real World Business Analysis Podcast. And now your host, Karaleise.
Hello everyone. This is Karaleise, and thank you so much for checking out the podcast. This episode is created specifically for my followers on the podcast. So if you haven't done so already, check out the podcast on Spotify or Google Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. We're going to be talking about some interesting things about business analysis today, like we always do. And you know what, guys? I believe that we're the single most informative channel on YouTube for business analysis. That is what I believe, because we're talking about the real things. There's a reason why we call it real world. Because I found that, when I was looking for information, it was very theoretical. People are telling you what's in the books, right? What they studied to get the cert. And just, the hypothetical. And I really wanted someone who understood it in the real world. Somebody who was doing it. Somebody who understands the intricacies of it. I wanted to get more detail. And so one thought was to go do some courses. And then the courses was more like the same kind of stuff. And I was fed up with it. And so I decided to be the change I wanted to see. And so I'm providing you with valuable, practical, real-world information that's going to help you. I want you to take away from watching my videos or listening to my podcast actionable steps that you can apply in your day-to-day job. And as I'm working on the course, that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be about actionable things that you're going to learn, hands-on, practical, real world. There's no fluff. Eliminate all fluff, eliminate all theory, eliminate all, high level. It's getting down into the details so you can understand it. Using terms and words that you understand, making it relatable. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I am doing. And I believe we're the best channel for business analysis on the internet. So if you haven't done so already, go check out our YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you're on the YouTube and you haven't done so already, go check out our podcast so you can listen to this on your drive home, or if you're multitasking, you can get some information while you're doing something else. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about the topic of today, which is the 12 types of business analysts you want to avoid becoming. Okay, this is very important. I want you to be the best business analyst rock star out there, but you have to know that not everybody is a rock star. Some people are stumbling through it, and I want you to avoid the things that I think are not good and do the things that are great. So here we go. Ready? Let's go. The first type of BA I want you to avoid becoming is who I call the cert collector BA. The cert collector BA. What do I mean by this? I mean, this is a person who is adamant at, I call it collecting certifications. They have every certification in the world. They have every single IIBA certification. They have ITIL. They have Scrum Master certification. They do AWS. They do ServiceNow. They do everything. Lean Six Sigma. Everything is that they have a number of accolades and acronyms behind their name. And it seems to me that they're focused so much on getting educated. But if you look at their resume, you don't see where the experience is, connecting to these certifications. So I'm not bashing certifications, although I do have some pet peeves with the IIBA certification in particular, because I want to see the IIBA really do more to help business analysts to be prepared for the working world. I feel like there is a lot of emphasis on getting them certified, but not a lot of emphasis on making sure that the certification is equipping them for what they're going to find when they get a job. I'm not so convinced that that is happening. So I have my own pet peeves about the IIBA, to be honest. But it's just the fact that people get bogged down in certs Okay. And yes, you want to get your certs to prove that you have some competence in the field, to help your resume, to show authority and all that stuff. But at the same time, be very careful not to become a cert collector. Okay. I'm just telling you. I've seen people on LinkedIn that have so many certs. I've actually seen one person who has almost all the IIBA certifications that's available. And I just couldn't imagine it. I don't understand why you need to get all. And I'm not saying that if you want to really excel, you shouldn't do them. I'm just saying when you have all of these certifications in different areas, what it communicates is a lack of focus. Okay, it's a lack of focus. Now, if you have all IIBA certifications, maybe it doesn't communicate that because you're saying you really, really, really love IIBA certifications that you're stuck at business analysis, which is good. It shows commitment. But at the same time, how much is too much? How much is too much? And do you really need all of those certifications? You understand? So I believe that I find that one of the things I would encourage you to avoid is to become a collector of certifications, because it really doesn't necessarily translate into making more money. It doesn't necessarily translate into getting the job over the next candidate. So having one or two certifications is great, but some of you people are going overboard, man. Y'all doing too much. Y'all need to stop and focus. Y'all need to say, okay, I am focusing in on business analysis. Let me get my CBAP, let me get my ECBA or whatever, maybe one or two certifications. Boom, I'm going to go look for a job now. Right? Some of you are not satisfied with just one or two. You're doing everything in the meantime. So I really encourage you to be very thoughtful about how much certs you're gonna get, and try to balance your certs with your experience. So as you get a cert, get a job where you use the cert. All right. When I see people applying for a business analyst job and they list out all the certs they've done in every other area, I worry about it, because if you have like CompTIA certification for networking, and then you have Scrum Master, and then you have ITIL, and then you have Salesforce, and then you have God knows what else, AWS and whatever, and then you're applying for a business analyst job, I'm like, where are you going with your life? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could see where they could kind of be related, but it just shows that you're all over the place. So in an effort to seem well-rounded and well-educated, you've communicated just being scattered, really. So again, I'm going to get off my horse on this one, but I would encourage you to be focused, to zone in on what you want to be, and focus your education efforts towards that, and try to get a job in the field that applies to certification, so that you can balance your experience with your certs. Otherwise, you become a cert collector BA, which please avoid. I want you to avoid that, okay? Number 2, the next one, the type of BA that you should avoid is what I call the as-is defender. The as-is defender. So the as-is defender BA is the BA who does not want to change. This is a BA who is very comfortable in the as-is state. Maybe they were the ones who created the process in the first place, and so they're kind of married to the process, and they don't want to change, so they don't see the future state never. They don't see the future coming to them. They don't move with the market. They're not looking ahead. They're just like, this is the process, and this is how we've always done it, and this is what we're doing. And most of the time, I guarantee they were the ones who implemented the process. But when it comes to maintaining and adapting and changing and going with the new flow, they're not into it. They're not into it. So they become blockers most of the time because they're so committed to what they already built. Don't be an as-is defender, okay? Look for the future, find ways to tweak and improve, and don't be stuck defending something just because you created it in the first place. You can change, okay? Try to learn to change and adapt to change. Now, number 3 is the over-the-wall BA. Yes, I call this the over-the-wall BA because this is a person who just throws things over the wall. Just throws things over the wall. Oh my goodness. When you got to work with these people, it really is a challenge. What do? They, they write vague requirements. They have, basically they have sloppy work. Their work is tending to be sloppy. There's not enough detail. It's vague, or it could be the opposite, where there's too much detail, and you can't make heads or tail of it. And so it's not well written. They don't have the skills. They don't know what they're doing. And in order to hide that, what they do is they throw things over the wall, and now it becomes somebody else's problem. And so when you go into the meeting, like, yeah, I wrote the requirements. The requirements are there. And then you look at the requirements and like, what the hell is this? Nobody knows what it is. But as far as they're concerned, they wrote the requirements and they're done. So it's now your problem. It's not their problem. And most of the time, because in work environments, we tend to have a lot of political correctness. We don't really want to call people out as being sloppy. And, we try to be politically correct and try to be nice. And, we make excuses for them. Well, they're new to this field. They really haven't been working as a BA that long, so we're just going to try and see if we can get the answer somewhere else. Like, people will make excuses for them because everybody individually want to do their job. So if you throw something over the wall to the developers and they're in the sprint, well, at the end of the day, the BA is going to say, hey, I already did my part. I wrote the requirements. The developer has no clue what the hell you wrote, but he has to build something. So he goes out there and tries to do his best and build something. And at the end of the day, maybe what he's built hasn't really met the requirements. And he may not have the feedback loop to go back and say, well, I didn't get good requirements. He can just say, well, this is what I understood, and we have to do another ticket or another story to correct it or whatever. And so they kind of get away with it. The thing about the over-the-wall BA, which really bothers me, is they always seem to get away with it. And they're always like the most brash. You know what I mean? Like, you can't talk to them. They're very defensive. They want to defend themselves. And, it's very difficult to deal with these people. But I'm telling you, the over-the-wall BA is one that you do not want to become, right? Do proper high-quality work and don't throw things over the wall at people. Have a meeting. Talk to everyone about what you're doing. Get feedback. Update whatever you need to update. Get more feedback. Clarify. And then when you hand it off properly, where it's all understood, all agreed upon, and it's great. Otherwise, you go off in your little siloed corner, write a bunch of crap, and just say, hey, I've delivered what I'm expected to deliver. Don't be that person, okay? Don't be an over-the-wall BA. The next BA, number 4, is the documentation czar BA. The documentation czar BA. Now, who am I talking about? I'm talking about the BA who insists on documenting every single thing. Okay, this is a BA who doesn't really understand the agile principle of working software over comprehensive documentation. That principle does not apply to them. They believe that everything needs to be documented, take a notes of everything, write extensive requirements document, along with extensive user stories, along with extensive use case documents. So they document to the ends of the world. And they don't spend enough time talking. Now, I'm not against documentation. I believe there's lots of value in documenting things, especially if you have to hand over to other teams or just for posterity to go back and look at what we did. You need to have something documented. But there are BAs that go overboard, okay? And organizations that force them to go overboard. So sometimes it's not even the BA. Sometimes it's coming from the PMO office. Sometimes it's coming from the leadership, who's like, document. It's garbage. I'll tell you right now why it's garbage. Because, yes, you probably need to have a BRD. You probably need to have, if you're in a waterfall environment, have a BRD, have a use case document. And you might document your notes or whatever from your meetings. But what you need to remember is that documents are very easily outdated. And the effort that you spend documenting, and then when something changes, you have to go update that document in multiple places, okay? And then you have to communicate that change to the team. And then you know what happens to the document? Very few people read it. Very, very few people read documents. They only find it if there's a problem and they run back to see what it is. So it also depends on the type of document. If you're looking at like release notes document, help files, that's a different thing. You definitely need to document that. Okay, I'm not saying don't document your help files. I'm saying when you're in the process of working through a software or a project, the documentation can be overwhelming because you might have a case where you're documenting up front in the early stages, and by the time you get to the end, everything you thought you were going to do at the beginning, you didn't do it. So all that document is obsolete already. Okay? So be very cautious of how much you document early on. And if you're in an agile environment, please, dear God, please, 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 do not document requirements and also document user stories and also document all the other things that they do in waterfall. Stop trying to make your agile process as waterfall as possible. Stop it. Okay, it's not the way it's supposed to go. What you need to do is have more conversations. Talk to people. Meet with people. Ask questions. Get answers. Because when you're in a conversation, the understanding is happening much better than if you were to write it all down, throw it over the wall, hope they read it and get the same understanding, and do it what you said. No. Talk to people. Set up a meeting. Have conversation. If you have teams that work in different time zones, well, find a way to wake up in the morning and talk to them, or they find a way to wake up in the morning and talk to you. But you got to talk. You have to talk. Stop this documenting and documenting and documenting. That is recording what happened as opposed to making that the source of what happens. Okay, especially in your agile teams. I'm talking to my agile people. Stop it. Okay, your user story is your main documentation. And you also need to write your, I would call it like a use case. Why did you build this? The risks, the dependencies, the limitations. Yes, you need to document that stuff. But you don't need this comprehensive documentation for every single step of the way you do in waterfall. Just stop. You're not doing agile at that point, okay? You're just bogging yourself down in documentation. So don't become a documentation czar. It's very annoying. Don't do it, especially if you're working in agile. Number 5 is the last minute BA. Oh my goodness. The last minute BA is I don't know, of all of these is really bad. This is the BA that's nothing but rush work. Rush, everything is rush because this person always have too many things to do. Maybe they have too many meetings. I don't know, but they just never have enough time, and so it's like a rush work. So what they'll do is a minute or a few hours before the meeting, that's when they're sending you all the information about the meeting. So you don't have time to absorb it, to make thoughts about it, to plan it, to think about it, to have questions on it. Or let's say the developers are about to close the sprint. They're one day away from the close of the sprint, and they throw in a user story in the middle of the mix. You're like, why did you put this in the sprint? Oh yeah, I'm sure you guys can get this done within the day or whatever. And you're like, no, don't throw things in at the last minute. Now, the last minute BA is just a BA who always does rush work and seems to be rushing everybody else to try to squeeze in more things than they need to have. Right? They don't really give you time to think about it well. They don't give you time to really have an answer. They just want to kind of push things on you last minute. Or it could be the BA where more like a micromanager kind of BA where they give you a task to do and they want the answer by midday, right? And they gave it to you at 9 o'clock in the morning. They want to answer by midday, or they have multiple check-ins throughout the week about one thing. It's like they're just over your back with stuff. Like you're feeling claustrophobic, right? So it's those two things, the last minute and the claustrophobia from the micromanaging. This is different from just in time. So last minute BA is much different from just in time BA. Just in time BA is good, meaning you're not rushing, but you don't have everything planned way, way ahead. Because when you have things planned months and months and months ahead, you'll find that there's just changes, and even though you can go back and update, sometimes you have to just do rework. Sometimes it becomes rework and rework and rework. So you end up you're wasting time because you're redoing too many things. The just-in-time BA knows the cadence of when things are happening and knows when it's the appropriate time to get something ready. So let's say that BA is always like 2 weeks ahead of the sprint. So they have all the questions answered, have all the elicitation activities done in time so that 2 weeks before the sprint ready, they have those stories lined up. So they're not like 6 months ahead, because at that, 6 months ahead might be too far out. And so everything you've done will be changed. But they're like, they have the right timing, right? So they're just in time, which is great. It's very difficult to become a just in time BA, and you should strive to be that. But do not be a last minute BA, please. Not fun. Number 6. This one is going to be funny. This one is a Stakeholder Stinger BA. The Stakeholder Stinger BA. What do I mean by this? This is a BA that just cannot maintain a good stakeholder relationship. Oh my goodness. These people ruin the relationships. So you may be cultivating a relationship with a stakeholder for a long time, and you invite this BA in and they just ruin every damn thing. How do they do it? They have a gift. They really have a gift. They just don't get along with people. They annoy everyone they're around. And I don't know how they're going to be successful as a BA, but they can't bond with others, right? They have an off-putting personality that nobody likes to work with them. And so because of that, it really does pose a challenge when they're trying to do stakeholder elicitations. They don't look for ways to connect. They're often very assertive, and it comes across more like they're almost a little demanding sometimes, and it's just off-putting. The whole thing is off-putting, and so the stakeholders tend to clam up. They don't want to say anything. If it's like a client or a customer stakeholder, it might be harsh, but on the internal stakeholder, people just start feeling demotivated when they have to deal with this BA, because it's like, I have to work with you and you're just like hard to work with. So if you're in the same BA department or same IT or dev or project department, they really do put a damper on everybody else. So I call them the Stakeholder Stinger BA. Don't be that. It doesn't have to be about the personality alone. It could just be the way you're approaching the job, right? Some people have this attitude like, I'm just doing my job here, right? So I'm just asking questions that I need to answer. But sometimes that's not the best way to approach every stakeholder, right? You could find ways to connect. You could find ways to build relationships even with people you haven't met before. Some people just don't have that skill. And so I would say if you know that you're not really good at forming relationships with strangers, work on that, right? That should be your number one thing that you work on. You can do it. I mean, you just need to find ways to connect and not be off-putting, please. Otherwise, this career may not be for you. Number 7, the self-sabotaging BA. The self-sabotaging BA. I believe that this is the one that most people will fall into, because I even find myself falling into this too. Like, I'm a perfectly knowledgeable person, right? And I find myself, even when I'm proposing an answer, I will say things like, here's what I think, blah, 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 if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Why did I say that? Why did I put if that makes sense at the end? It's like I'm doubting whether I'm making sense. Like, what? Karaleise, what are you doing? So it's just a self-sabotage that, you don't even notice that you're doing. So this is the BA who is consumed with self-doubt, right? They have self-denial. Sometimes they have the perfect answer to a problem and they won't say anything because they just don't want to, they don't want to be the one to, kind of override other people. You might be in a meeting with executives and bigger bosses, and you don't want to come off as you have an idea that they didn't think about, or you might feel nervous about saying what you think. And it turns out that they're all baffling. You had the answer all along, and they eventually arrive at the answer that you already thought about. And you're like, damn, I should have said it. So you just always doubt yourself, right? Sometimes you don't do anything because you're scared of the unknown. So you could have taken a step boldly and made a suggestion or moved something, but you sometimes wait for permission. Like, you want to ask permission, you want to ask if you can do this, And really, you need to just take the bull by the horns and just go out there and do it. Ask for forgiveness later. If they think that you overstepped your bounds as a BA, then you can ask for forgiveness. But let me give you a quick example. Let's say there's a ticket in your backlog, or in the sprint. Let's say there's a ticket in the sprint, and the developer sized it and thought they could do it. And then this is a ticket that you wrote, by the way. You're the BA who wrote the ticket. And let's say the developer said, well, we thought this was a smaller story point, but now that we look into it, it's more complicated. And I think the amount of work that we have to do just to accomplish this one feature may not be valuable, may not be worth it. And I don't think we should be doing it in the sprint. Now, that's the developer's opinion. At the end of the day, the product owner or the business analyst might have to make that decision. Now, let's say that we don't have a product owner. Let's just simplify it. You make the decisions on what goes into the sprint, but you have to report to maybe your product manager or your project manager. So a simple thing like that, you could say, okay, let me wait until our next backlog refinement. And we're going to talk to the project manager, and then we're going to see if they agree to move it out of the sprint, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to fix it, and then. Or you could say, it makes perfect sense to me that we take it out, because why should we spend 8 story points doing something that's going to be like little value to the user? You could grab that story out of the sprint and put it at the top of the backlog and let it go. And when you meet with the product owner next time, or the product manager or whatever, you say, hey, this is what I did. I moved it out of the sprint because it was a huge ticket and it would have held up the sprint. Now, the product manager might be mad at you and say, hey, that's a decision that we need to make, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, fine. Now you know. Fine, I won't take anything out of the sprint no more. But it's just like, I feel like we wait. We know what the good thing is. And yes, you could probably send them a Teams message or message them on Slack and say, hey, this is my suggestion. But what I think the example I'm trying to bring about is you can take an action and inform people that you've taken the action. And that comes from a place of power, like a place of authority, a place of ownership, right? Or you can say, hey, here's a problem. What do you think? You know what I mean? It just communicates to others that you don't have an idea. You don't have your own thoughts, and you can't take a decision. You don't really have, even if they don't give you the authority, you can take that authority. Okay, if you wrote the story, they trust you to write the story. Why can't they trust you to make a decision on whether the story is worth the value or not? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a sticky situation. Almost all of these situations that we find ourselves in as business analysts are a little sticky. But wherever I can, I take ownership. I take ownership of my stuff, and I move things and I do things. And if I need to apologize afterwards, I will. If somebody says to me, Karaleise, don't do that anymore, okay, fine, I won't do it anymore. But you can never say that I didn't take initiative. You'll never say Karaleise did not take the initiative and do the best thing. I'm not going to wait. I mean, these people who normally, if you're because I work as a product manager, right? And if I'm in a bunch of meetings and I'm doing a bunch of stuff, I would enjoy somebody who understands the use case to kind of help me make a decision where I'm busy doing something else. And if they tell me afterwards, say, hey, Karaleise, this is what happened while you're in that meeting. We had to make a decision before the sprint closed. We moved these 2 stories out because they were a large effort. We're going to put it in the backlog, and then you can decide if we put it in the next sprint or not. I would be happy with that. As opposed to a person says, we had this problem. You're in a meeting, so we left the problem to just keep going. We just left it unresolved. You know what I'm saying? Let's not be self-sabotaging. Let's not second guess ourselves. Let's be assertive to a point, and let's take control and take ownership, okay? So don't be a self-sabotaging BA. Don't think negative thoughts about yourself. Don't doubt yourself. You have an idea, say your idea. Think positive thoughts. It will come out of you eventually. When you start putting things in that is positive, things positive come out, right? All right, number 8. I call this the over-under BA. The over-under BA. So, why do I say over-under? Because they over-promise and they under-deliver, right? So these people lose credibility very quickly. Very, very quickly. So let me give an example of this. You go to a department and you're supposed to improve the process. And you have your workshops, you talk to them, you have your requirement sessions, and you do all that. And then you promise them what it's going to be in the future. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to have this new system, we're going to have this better process, we're going to reduce the wait time, there's so much you promise. And then when you get into it to try to implement it, you couldn't deliver none of that. So now you set this expectation so high and then you deliver so low. And so people just don't have any credibility for you anymore. Or let's say that you're talking to clients and the client wants to do XYZ. And you agree with the client and you promise the client and you say, yeah, we're going to deliver this. It's going to be in our next release. We're going to make sure that we give you, all these features, all these stuff. You get in there and you realize that it's more complicated than you thought. You realize that you're not going to be able to deliver it. And so maybe you talk to the client and say, well, we're not going to do this, but it doesn't even matter. You've already committed to doing something that you didn't even know if you could do. So you're an over-promiser and you're an under-deliverer. Don't be that, okay? Don't be that type of BA because that is just going to crush your credibility. Nobody's going to think you can do anything and it's just all bad from there. It's better for you to under-promise or don't promise anything and over-deliver. Over-deliver, delight your customers, delight your team members, delight everybody who interacts with you and they didn't even expect it, right? So that's what you have to do. Number 9, the know-it-all BA. Oh my God. Who doesn't know a know-it-all person? And how annoying are they? The know-it-all BA is a person who doesn't listen to anybody's idea because they know everything. And it's like them. It's just a me person. I'm telling you this because this is my idea right now. And I know I've even heard people say to me that I know it sounds like just my idea right now, but it's just my idea right now. It's like, oh my God. Like, could you be more narcissistic? Like, really? The know-it-all BA is the worst. And I'll tell you, sometimes the know-it-all BAs are not operating under the function of a business analyst. Sometimes they're operating as leadership. Sometimes they are your project managers, your chief information officers, your CTOs, your executive board people. Sometimes it's them who are in a proxy business analyst position, like a strategic business analyst position, but they don't have that title. And so they know everything, but they don't know anything is the point. So I've had experience where people come in and they try to change a process, but they have no idea what the problem is. They're just changing stuff to change stuff. They didn't spend any time because they don't have the skills to do elicitation, to understand the root cause. They didn't do none of that. They just come and change things, and they're changing it because in their head, in their minute world, this is what is going to work. And sometimes it's not based on solving a problem. It's based on them doing what they feel like. And it's the worst thing ever. I think if you really want to excel as a business analyst and as a person in general, do things that other people have buy-in with. Like, get buy-in before you just start doing stuff. And don't be a know-it-all. There's no way you can know it all. If your cup is already full of knowledge and there's no space to put anything else, there's never a person who can't learn anything else. There's so much to learn. No matter how much you know about something, there's something else to learn that you didn't know. So don't be a know-it-all. Don't force your ideas down people's throats. Don't use your authority as in the business analyst capacity, whether you have that title or not, to push your own ideas on people because it may not be the best thing. Talk, have conversations, find out the root cause, and solve what's broken. Don't solve everything because it's there and because you want to change it. Solve only what's broken. All right? Number 10. Number 10 is who I call the baby BA. The baby BA. Now, who's the baby BA? Well, the baby BA is they get a job as a business analyst. This normally happens to newbie BAs. They get a job as a business analyst. Sometimes they do courses, sometimes they do certifications, and they feel slightly confident, but they never worked in the field before. So they're kind of new to everything and trying to learn. They get into the job, and the first time they do a requirements document or the first time they have to write some user stories, they didn't get it right. And sometimes, maybe they have supervisors who are a little bit harsh on them. Maybe they have some harsh timelines, and they start to cry like a baby. Oh, the job is so hard. I can't do it. Oh my God. What did I get myself into? and they start crying like babies. Don't be a baby BA, okay? Don't be a baby BA. Even if this is your first job, don't be a baby BA. What did you think was going to happen when you got the job? Didn't you think that you're going to have to perform? Didn't you think you have to go write actual requirements document? Didn't you think you're going to have to deal with stakeholders? Did you think the stakeholders were going to say, oh, that's wonderful. You come here to change my process? Come, let's sit down together and let's have some tea and let me see how you can change my life. Is that what you thought was going to happen? That doesn't happen in the real world. And you know we're all real right here. This is a real world business analysis podcast for a reason. Because I'm giving you what's happening in the real world, practical things that you can know what's going to happen when you get your job. And also that you can practice what I'm telling you in your job. Okay? So don't be a baby BA. Don't just say, I'm going to switch my career because it's too hard and I don't want to do this no more. And you start crying. If you want to switch careers, fine. Maybe this is not for you. I'm not saying that it has to be for you. But, I mean, if you want to switch jobs too, I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just have to move on from that company. Maybe they're not the company for you. But when you want to switch your careers because, you end up in some kind of difficulty in that job and it's too hard and people didn't show you appreciation, you don't feel like you know what to do, that's being a baby. Okay, that's being a baby. And you really need to stop and focus. If you have to switch your job, switch your job. But think about your future. Did you invest your time and energy and effort into getting certification and doing these courses for nothing? Is the job worth it to you? I mean, is the career worth it to you? Because this career is moving towards a six-figure career. People in this field are earning high salaries, and it's just going to get higher. So you could switch and do something else. Maybe that might be better for you. But wherever you're going to go, you're also going to find that there might be some difficulties. So learn how to deal with difficulties and stop being a crybaby. Okay? Now, number 11. The stingy BA. The stingy BA. Oh my goodness. These BAs are not very common, but I have encountered a few of them. And so that's why they're at the bottom of the list here, the stingy BA. Now, what do I mean by this? That these are people who are stingy with the company's resources. It's like it's their money. It's like it's their resources. They are stingy. They want to suck as much energy out of one person. They don't want to hire other BAs in the department if they're in a managerial role. They're very concerned about spending too much money for the company, or they're very cost aware. Why? I don't know. They act like the money that the company needs to spend to improve the process is their money. And they're scared to recommend any solution that's going to cost the company money because they believe that that's going to get shut down and it's going to look bad on them. So they want to recommend the most stingy solutions ever. Okay, so that's the stingy BA. These people are very tight with resources and very tight with money. And I would encourage you not to be a stingy BA. If the solution is the best solution, suggest it. Propose it. Explain it. Let the company say, no, we can't afford it. Okay, but you don't make that decision for them. And, sometimes the way these BAs work, especially when they're in the managerial position, is that let's say you work below, you're a business analyst and you report to a manager of business analysis, or a product manager or a project manager or whatever. When you do the elicitation and you come up with your future state process, or you come up with, the workflow that's going to be better, there might be cost implications to it, right? You suggest your suggestion to your management, and they immediately look at it and say, we're not even going to suggest that to the CEO because he's gonna see how much it's going to cost and he's going to knock it down. So they become like the barrier for you. Your ideas can't go nowhere because they stop it, they block it, and they don't even suggest it. And so the suggestions that keep floating up to the senior management is always crap, because the ones that you suggest, which is the good ones, the stingy BA blocks it. Okay, and again, I say BA very loosely in this podcast. BA could be the person who's actually doing the business analysis job, or the person who's functioning as a business analyst, such as product managers who are doing business analysis too, project managers sometimes, UX designers sometimes. So it's fluid role. There are different people who perform business analysis, so it's not just the person with the title of business analyst. The final one that I want to talk about is the do it later BA. The do it later BA. What do I mean by do it later BA? I mean, this is the person who work just piles up on this BA. Oh my goodness. They always have a long to-do list and ain't nothing can be checked off that list. Ain't nothing checking off that list. Because they always do it later. These people are not on top of things. You meet with them and there's a bunch of feedback comes out of it and they say, okay, I'll set up a meeting to talk about this and this and this, and they never set that meeting. So that topic just leaves hanging and nobody knows what the solution is. They always have a lot of things to do. The do it later BA tends to sometimes convert themselves into the last minute BA because you have so much to do, you can't keep up, and then when you realize the deadline is coming up, you just do things last minute and it's all crap. Okay? Don't be a do it later BA. When you have something to do, you have a meeting and there's an output that comes out of that meeting and you need to meet again, set the meeting for the next day to finish off that conversation, to complete whatever we are talking about. Do it as soon as possible while it's fresh in everybody's mind. Because if you wait and wait and wait, it's just nobody else is going to get up and do it. It's not going to be magically solved by anybody. It's you. You're going to have to make sure it happens. You may not have the answers, but you have to bring the people together who can come up with the answers. So you got to go and organize this, set a meeting, send an email, whatever. But act quickly on issues that need to be resolved because you're going to end up with a long to-do list and it's just going to get longer and you're going to become a do-it-later BA. And you don't want to be that, okay? So there you have it, guys. There you have my 12 types of business analysts to avoid becoming. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. And I think I'm going to upload this on YouTube too. And remember, if you're in the job market for a business analyst job, please go to Amazon and get the Business Analyst Job Market Report. This is going to give you all the information for you to be able to start your career as a business analyst. Or you can go to www.bajobmarket.com and you can download the ebook of this. And with that download, I also give you a resource kit that has my best templates, my best case studies, my best resources that comes with the ebook and that you can't get on Amazon. So that will be only available at bajobmarket.com. Go get the book, get the information to land your next business analyst job. That's all for now, guys. Take care. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Real World Business Analysis Podcast with Karaleise. Remember to check out our latest books, courses, templates, and other resources at karaleise.com. That's KARALEISE.com. Take the fit test on our website to find out if you're a fit for business analysis and get the results right away. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Karaleise. Join our Facebook group called Real World Business Analysis and IT. We're also on Instagram and LinkedIn at Karaleise. Goodbye for now, and remember, you are a business analyst rock star, so keep it real. Peace.